Right, let's leave the dogging spot. So I just sat there thinking like what I can talk about, and the old pocket check of this. Right. Yeah, I was thinking like what I could talk about and everything else, and I think I'm just going to start off with like my experience and my experiences with motorbikes. Just so my time riding a bike, as mentioned in the last video, has been about 11 years, and in those 11 years consistently riding in all seasons. It's a mode of transport first and foremost. It's one of those. I got into bikes because it was cheaper than doing my driving test, so I've been riding motorbikes longer than I've been driving, and it was cheap, like insurance was cheap, the bike was cheap. But when I got a bike, I was like going back into college and university and stuff, and it was my main mode of transport for about 4 or 5 years. And just getting on every day, go to work, go to college, go to uni, go absolutely everywhere, and just out on rides. And it has, like, riding a motorbike, like, if you're getting into it thinking, oh, I'm gonna be dead cool and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna get loads of girls, you're just not. You put some people off, because all you then it absorbs your life, having a motorbike. It really does. But I found myself like getting amazing friends from it, and I did the whole thing. Like, I still am part of a motorcycle club, which is just the weirdest bunch of people I have ever met in my whole life. But I wouldn't change them. They were all at my wedding, and all that, and all those people that have come into my life just because of these bits of metal with an engine on it. Get into all kinds of things, because I don't think I've ever met a biker who literally just has their bike and only goes A to B and doesn't look any further into it. Every biker I know either like has got into tinkering with the bike and, like, you know, the mechanical side of things, or they've got into like the racing side and everything else. Some of them are like even like the stunts and all this. And again, the like motorcycle club community into all that as well, because there's a whole bunch of politics that goes along with motorcycle clubs, even in the UK, that you didn't realise existed until you sort of get into that social circle. We put it obviously hasn't happened for like the last year because of the dreaded virus, but you know, we put on a rally, which is not like a car rally. It's basically rally as in rally together. So you've got all like your music, your bands, you're drinking, you're sleeping in a tent, and, you know, making questionable life choices, but it's something people enjoy, just like I enjoy upsetting tiny villages with my shouty bike. I'm not entirely sure I've gone the right way, to be honest, but I'm not complaining. So like when I first got a bike, obviously I was on a 125, and you find it hard to be accepted in certain circles, especially the bike club community. If you're on a 125, if you don't have your full ticket, people barely look at you half the time. I mean, I'm part of that community, and there have been times where I may have stupidly just not paid attention to anyone on a 125, but they're trying, they're just starting. So now I do give people a time of day. It's like people had that air of superiority over me, so I'm going to have it over someone else. But it was just it was pointless. It's a bike. You're on two wheels. I mean, for crying out loud, I bought a 125 after I passed my test and had done for 6 years. Because they are good, you know, there are good 125s out there, and there are ones that you need skill to ride. So some people might not physically be able to ride bigger bikes than 125s and might want to stay on a smaller bike. You know, some people might not be as able to handle the weight of a bigger bike or anything like that. You just don't know. You don't know people's circumstances, especially financial ones as well, with the current climate. But I had a lot of friends who were on 125s, and we've sort of like grown up in our sort of bike life together, passing our tests at similar times, and you know, owning similar bikes at similar times, and going on stupid adventures. Especially one of my friends who got, like, we both had adventure bikes. I had a V-Strom, not really the best adventure bike, but I put some knobblies on it and everything else, and he did the same with his KTM 1190 Adventure, and we rode for miles, and we ended up on these off-road green lanes and everything else. We dropped those bikes, they got caked in mud and everything else, but probably some of the best riding days I've ever had. Oh, light's going red. Let's try and get up a bit. That's the selling point of bikes, I think, is virtually next to no traffic. And again, as long as you're not an idiot when you're filtering and stuff, it's all good. I've never been pulled over for filtering. I've actually really touched some form of tree product, but I've really been pulled over for riding a bike. Only when I've been out at stupid hours with friends and stuff, and there's a group of us. That's when I've been pulled over. But aside from that, again, touching tree product. Run, lady. Man. I know it might seem like a bit naughty having like loud exhausts and all this, that and the other, but the things that can be changed, you know, that can be undone, whereas doing like 190 down here and squashing a child, that's not going to be undone very easily, is it? Oh, that was a deep hole. Going on about experiences and stuff like that, like, you always worry about like when you first start on a motorbike, is having that first accident. When's it going to happen? You know, because odds are you are going to fall, and just depending on how far along you are in your bike journey is how severe it might be. Like, my very first off on a motorbike was on my 125, my first 125, and it was cold, it was winter, there was ice on the car park, and I just I slipped, turning left into a Tesco. I went on my backside, and I was fine, but then I just sort of like lost the bit of a fear, because it happened then. I've experienced it. Getting a nod? We're getting a nod. So So I'd had that experience, and it wasn't as traumatic as some, and obviously there's people who are much worse off, and it does put people off, but that just sort of solidified the thing of, oh, that's falling off a motorbike in my head. Well, that's not too bad. I've had much worse ones ever since. Oh, progressively getting worse, and they've still not managed to put me off. And again, like experiences, like me and a couple of friends. So, one of them spotted a wheelie school, and he was like, "Yes, Dean, we're on this." And I'm like, "Are we?" He was like, "Yeah, because I booked it." So I'm like, "All right, cool." So he booked it. We went. We had the best time. And learned how to ride on one wheel instead of two, which is a power that which is now a power that I use wisely. I will not be using it on video. But no, that was fun. And then like the bike show at the NEC, a mate of mine again started riding bikes, everything else, and then ended up being a motorbike salesman, and we got exclusive passes to go to the NEC, and again had an absolute ball. I was absolutely gutted though, because there was a thing where you could test ride bikes and stuff on like a dirt track, and I thought, oh, that's a bit of me, that like I love off-roading, I love things like that. And I was like, oh yes, I'm gonna give that a go. And they had bikes that, at the time, I was on an A2 license, and an A2 is basically like, it's your full license, but you're restricted on power. I'm now on my full license now, so this wouldn't be a problem if it happened again. But they said, oh, you need to have your full license. And I'm like, well, yeah, I have my full license, and that bike that I want to ride is in my category. And they're like, no, you need your full license. So we pulled a Karen, and we spoke to the manager, and they come over, like the organiser of it, and it's like, no, it's in our insurance, mate, that you need your full license. Unfortunately, we don't class A2 as a full license. Like, we couldn't class that one to our insurers. So begrudgingly, I accepted what they had to say. The only Karen step that we did was asking for like the manager of it. Anyway, I don't know what's going on here. And so me and another one of my friends walked around, and whilst the other two went ahead and went on it, the bastards, and they got to ride the Tenere 700, which I really want. So yeah, they got to go and do that. I would have only been riding a bloody Royal Enfield something or other that they'd done like an adventure version of. But I was still gutted, because it would have been a chance to get on a like dirt track with my mates and have a bit of a laugh, and it's an experience. It's something that you can talk about down the pub, or to other people who've, like, you know, not experienced that sort of thing yet, and you can say, oh yeah, it's like this. And that's what being on a motorbike's about. It's being able to have those talks and to say that I've done this, and this is where we went on them, and like, oh, I did it on this bike, and it was so... You just come up with so many things about your journey just because you've been on a motorbike. Whereas those people who've gone, like, I don't know, camping, say, it's all about... If anyone ever tells you anything about it, it's never about the drive there. It's always about when they're actually there. Whereas I've been camping on motorbikes, and you get stories about the ride there, you get stories about the ride back, the times in between, and then the other things as well, so it just adds to your experience. Even if the weather's crappy or anything else, you can really sort of get some stories out of it. And yes, it's going to bore the shit out of some people, but at the same time, other people are going to find it really interesting, those people who have motorbikes or interested in them. So that's it really. That's the whole message, is it's all about the stories, your experience. I'm going to pull over and leave that there, and I think I'm just going to enjoy the day without a camera on and just go where I want to. I might start up recording it, I don't know. If I've got something else to talk about. Right, I'm going to leave this here. Make sure I put go into neutral before I try and faff with my camera. Right, toodle pip.